One of these cars was banned by its own government before a single customer drove it. The other was sold with a horsepower number Chrysler knew was a lie. 2 continents, 2 factories, 1/4 mile that never officially happened. 1971. Detroit and Melbourne were building the same weapon for 2 different wars. By the time this story ends, one country will pull its own hero off the shelf. Here's what the sales brochures never told you. This is the 440 Six-Pack against the Falcon GT-HO Phase III. Only one wins. Chrysler built the Six-Pack for one reason. NASCAR and the street had split, and the street needed a weapon. 3 2-barrel carburetors, 440 cubic inches. On paper, 390 horsepower. That number was gross horsepower, measured on a stand. No accessories, no exhaust restriction, no real-world anything. Put it back in the car, bolt on the alternator, the fan, the mufflers, and the real figure drops hard. Car and Driver clocked a Six-Pack Challenger at 13.8 in the quarter. Respectable, not what the brochure promised. The Six-Pack wasn't a lie built to cheat you, it was a number built to sell you. Every manufacturer inflated gross numbers back then. Chrysler just did it loudest. Now go 12,000 miles south. Ford Australia was fighting a war Detroit never had to fight. The war was called Bathurst. 1,000 kilometers, 1 mountain, and bragging rights that decided sales for a year. Ford needed a homologation special that could win outright. Not finish well, win T. The answer was the Falcon XY GT-HO Phase III. Built in Broadmeadows, rated at 300 horsepower, underrated on purpose. Under the hood sat a 351 cubic inch Cleveland V8 fed by a 4-barrel Holly the size of a toaster. Wheels and Wide World Sports magazine ran a Phase III to 142 miles an hour. Top speed of any Australian production car at the time. 0 to 60 in 6.4 seconds. In 1971, that's not a typo, that's a factory sedan. Ford Australia didn't inflate the number. If anything, they hit it. Because the real number scared people. This is the split that decides everything. One car oversold its power, the other undersold it and outran the claim. So here's the verdict up front, because we don't make you wait for it on this channel. In a straight quarter mile, stock for stock, the Phase III beats the Six-Pack. Not by a fluke, by design. The Six-Pack carried more weight, softer gearing, and a horsepower figure that never existed at the wheels. The Phase III carried a 4-speed close ratio box, a limited slip diff, and a power-to-weight number Detroit didn't bother chasing. Let's build the full case, because a verdict without the receipts is just an opinion. The Six-Pack option code was E87. It landed in the Challenger RT and the Roadrunner for one model year, 71. Compression ratio, 10.5 to 1. Cast iron block, cast iron heads. A car built heavy, built to survive abuse. Curb weight on the Challenger RT Six-Pack ran close to 3,800 pounds. That's a lot of car to launch. Chrysler's own engineers privately clocked net output closer to 330 horsepower at the flywheel. 60 horsepower vanished on paper alone. That gap wasn't unique to Chrysler, but it's the gap that decides this race. Now, the Phase III. Ford Australia built exactly 300 road cars to satisfy homologation rules for Bathurst. 300 cars, that's it. Compare that to the tens of thousands of Six-Packs Chrysler pushed through dealers. Curb weight, 3,280 pounds, half a ton lighter than the Six-Pack Challenger. Lighter car, 4-speed manual, 351 Cleveland breathing through a big 4-barrel. That combination is what wins drag strips, not brochure horsepower. The rear spoiler wasn't decoration. Wind tunnel testing at 140 miles an hour showed real front-end lift without it. Ford Australia went around corporate to get this car built at all. Head office in Dearborn barely knew Phase III existed. That's the wedge in this whole story. One car built by committee in Detroit. One built by a division that stopped asking permission. Both companies were racing the same deadline. Emissions rules and insurance crackdowns closing in fast on both continents. 1971 was the last year either car could exist in this form. Both knew it. So they built for the last shot. No compromise. No thought for next year because there wasn't going to be one. This is where the story turns. Because one of these cars never made it to a showroom at all. June 1972. A Sydney newspaper ran a headline that changed Australian car history overnight. They called it the supercar scare. A journalist claimed Ford, Holden, and Chrysler were about to sell 140-mile-an-hour cars to teenagers. The public panicked. Politicians panicked faster. Within days, Ford, Holden, and Chrysler Australia all withdrew their planned homologation specials, including the next phase, the GTHO Phase IV. 4 prototype Phase IVs had already been built. Ford crushed or hid everyone rather than let the story spread further. Banned. That's the only honest word for what happened to Ford Australia's fastest car before the public ever saw it. America never had a supercar scare. Detroit's muscle era died slower, insurance premiums, and the EPA did the killing quietly. The six-pack option was gone by 1972 anyway. Quietly dropped from the order sheet, no headline required. One country needed a media panic to kill its hero, the other just let the paperwork quietly do it. That difference tells you something about how loud each car actually was on the street. Now to the number that matters most, the quarter mile, the only test a drag strip has never lied about. Car and drivers tested. Six-pack Challenger ran the quarter in 13.84 seconds at 104 miles an hour. Wheels Magazine's Phase III test ran the quarter in 14.4 on street tires in stock trim with a driver who wasn't a professional. On raw elapsed time alone, the six-pack wins that specific test. This is where most videos stop. We don't. Because elapsed time isn't the whole verdict. Trap speed tells you which engine was still building power at the finish line. The Phase III trapped at 99 miles an hour in that same test on a car with almost 40 fewer cubic inches. Correct for weight, correct for the diff gearing Chrysler chose for comfort over launch, and the two cars are within 1/10 of each other. That's not a six-pack win. That's a coin flip Chrysler happened to call correctly on test day. Put a real 4-speed and a race diff into the six-pack, the option Chrysler sold but almost nobody ordered, and the story flips entirely. The 4-speed six-pack ran into the low 13s in period tests. That car beats the Phase III outright. But almost nobody bought that car. The automatic was what sat on the lot, and the automatic is what most owners actually drove. So here's the honest verdict, the one both fan bases won't want. As sold, as driven, the Phase III was the more complete machine. Lighter, better balanced. Its power figure was honest where the six-packs was marketing. But the six-pack, correctly optioned, could match it stride for stride. Chrysler just never told most buyers how. Two honest verdicts. Neither one fits on a bumper sticker. That's the truth the drag strip actually recorded. Now to what happened after. Because the aftermath tells you as much as the race itself. The supercar scare killed more than one model. It effectively ended factory-backed muscle car racing in Australia within 2 years. Group C touring car rules replaced the free-for-all. The wild factory specials were gone for good. In America, the EPA and insurance underwriters finished what Chrysler's own accountants had already started. The 440 was gone from the option sheet by 1974. Today, a genuine numbers-matching six-pack Challenger RT sells north of $150,000 at auction. A genuine GTHO Phase III sold in 2018 for over $1 million Australian dollars, the most expensive Australian car ever sold at the time. 300 cars and a government ban did that. Scarcity built by politics, not by choice. 2 cars, 2 continents, 2 different ways an era got shut down. One by panic, one by paperwork, both final. If your family had one of these in the driveway, tell us what it was actually like to drive. We read everyone. See you in the next verdict. But shutting down an era does not erase the paper trail. Both cars left receipts, and the receipts tell you who was actually scared. Chrysler quietly rated the 440 six-pack at 390 horsepower gross. Independent dyno pulls in period magazines put real flywheel output closer to 450. That gap was not a mistake. It was underwriting. Insurance companies priced policies off advertised horsepower. Underrate the engine on paper, and the premium stays survivable. That single number kept the six-pack in driveways instead of showrooms nobody could afford to insure. Ford Australia had no insurance lobby to dodge. They had a newspaper. The Sydney Press ran a story claiming the Phase IV could hit 190 kilometers per hour on public roads. Whether that figure was accurate barely mattered. Politicians read it before engineers could correct it. Within weeks, the Phase IV was dead before a single customer car left the factory. 4 bodies were built, some say 6. Nobody in Broadmeadows will give you a straight number even now. Compare that to Detroit. The 440 Six-Pack did not get killed by a headline. It got killed by an actuarial table nobody outside Hartford ever saw. One country ended a legend with a press conference. The other ended it with a memo nobody was ever meant to read outside a boardroom. Today, those same cars sell for numbers that make both decisions look insane in hindsight. A numbers-matching 440 Six-Pack Roadrunner now clears $200,000 at Mecum on a good night. 10 years ago, it was a third of that. One genuine Phase III sold in Australia for over $1 million. A surviving Phase IV prototype, if one ever surfaces publicly, would not have a ceiling. Scarcity did that, not marketing. Panic and paperwork made these cars rare, and rare is the only currency that never inflates away. The NHRA changed its rulebook after cars like the 440 Six-Pack rewrote what stock class could do. The Australian design rules changed after the Phase IV story broke. Neither institution admitted the real reason in writing. Institutions rarely do. That is the real verdict here. Not which engine made more torque on a given Tuesday in 1970, but which country was more honest about why it pulled the trigger. Detroit hid the truth in a horsepower rating. Australia printed it on the front page. Only one of them can say they never lied to you.